Ooh. Hello, everybody. How we doing? Welcome in, Ben. Welcome in, Lycan. Conjunctivitis.com. Now, that is a site for sore eyes. That is very true. What's the advantage of living in Switzerland? Well, the flag's a big plus. Hey, Jax. Welcome in. Welcome in. Good to see everybody. How we doing? How we doing? Let me switch over. Yes, we're back with more Legend of Spyro. Also, fun fact. For those who are not in the Discord, when I mentioned before, I think what my Crash Bandicoot collection is looking like, I've rectified one of the missing pieces of the puzzle. I now have CTR, Crash Team Racing, original PAL PS1 copy of the game, which is very nice. I haven't tested it yet, but I've got a copy, at least. And I'd also remembered that I have Crash Bash, which we haven't properly played. So I think we played we did like a little like demo run of it. But we need to do adventure mode on that. Because it's known for being quite brutal or difficult or both. So yeah, we're gonna I think once once we do another Crash game after Wrath of Cortex, after this game, that'll be the next game. Will be Crash Bash, and we'll do adventure mode when we pull out the PS2 again. So that's the plan, amongst other things. I think. So I totally forgot I had it. I thought I had, because the copy I used to have was basically fucked. I don't know whether I got a new disc or I just bought the game again and got rid of the old one I had as a kid. Because the one I had as a kid, it would like take forever to load the game. I don't think it would just like loop, and it wouldn't play the next bit of the intro or whatever. So yeah. Yes. Very cool. Very cool. Start your engines. So you don't have to play. Well, we can play either the original or the Nitro version, even though we've played both already. But yeah. Hope everyone's had a good Wednesday, middle of the week period. And yeah. So I'm like tabbing back between. I'm watching Neon do the end of Endwalker, and it's like a really gripping scene because it's like literally like the last bit. And it's like so. But yes, we have a game to play. So this is where we left off last time around. It's my audio. I think the TV's playing audio as well as. Yes, it is. Alrighty, so we are in the Tall Plains, and we are going to save the Guardian of Ice, or we're basically going to obtain Ice Breath, is what I gather. So we're going to fight Cinder's forces and maybe have I mean, I don't know if Cinder has an appearance here where if we fight her before. Well, no, I don't think we might encounter her, but like I don't think we truly fight her until the very end. So I'd imagine we'll have some sort of cutscene where like he stares down Spyro and's like, "I'm gonna kill you," and he's like, "I'm gonna get away, thanks, bye." Nice. I mean, so let me actually let me once this fight is finished, I'll check. I'll check if the upgrades have actually kicked in from last stream. Because we did upgrade a few things. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. For some reason, even though I saved it again. So we got the level 1 upgrade now for the electric arc bomb thingy bobby. Let's just pump all that into there. Okay. Let's continue forth. I think I prefer electric breath over fire, to be honest. And now we've got the art, the fury thing, which is real nice. So it makes us even more juiced with the lightning breath. You know what I mean? Also, with the lightning bomb, the electric arc, we can basically trap enemies at this point, which is really nice. Lanhimid Stone Slayer. Boom. I hope everyone's having a good day. Whilst we dive through the tall plains. Use your tail strike on the blocks. Oh. Raise the totems. Oh, isn't it R1? Oh, yeah. I have to remember then what the button was. Okay, so we've got 2 more buttons to find, I assume. Which are probably over this way. Very nice. I like. Unless it's not, I don't even know. Oh. Oh, that's a cheeky little trap. What's this, Tomb Raider? Oh, what? Earth cannon? Surely I can get up here. Oh. Wait, did I just skip a section? I did. Oh look, it's the tribesfolk. Or animals, I guess? Maybe? I don't know. A lot of moaning.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Does that mean what I think it does?
Yeah, we've got to help him.
Oh, brother.
But I want to go back. I missed stuff. I missed my stuff. Oh, yep, they're dead. Bye-bye.
I was just trying to help.
Well, the Outlaw and Kane need no help.
Oh, just about to spring into action, huh?
Forget this guy, Spyro. Come on.
What did they want with you, anyway?
It's none of your business. Now move. I've got a tribe to save.
Yeah, good luck with that, bud.
Oh, you're welcome.
Why is everything happening so fast? And I gotta fight you as well? Oh, Jesus. Alright. A flight enemy dies to gravity. Things you absolutely love to see. Well, I'm missing a button, aren't I? Or am I? Am I even? Jump, jump. Life is a funny way of sneaking up on you. There you go. Okay, well, I can grab that. Oh, okay. Maybe, no, maybe. I didn't. No, I didn't. Okay, there was only an one extra button on it. Well, that's firecrackers. So, flame. Peach. Oh, that was a big explosion. Jesus. Yeah. Noted. Is that it? Okay, that's it. Oh, at least I got health back. Anyway. Alright, let's go back around again. Because why the hell not? Oh yeah, I fell off this thing. Oh yeah, there's enemies down here. Oh, why did I go down there? Get out of here, you little bitch. Whee! You womp. Oink, 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 oink. Oh, maybe there is another button. Oh, upgrade. Yeah. Okay, so break all the china. Good enough. No. Nice. Ah. Okay. Do I get a puzzle out of that? Oh, I get extra enemies. Nice. Good stuff. That tracks. Extra enemies means more experience points. Am I right? You did. Well, you're toast at this point anyway, so it's fine. So I think now well, I could go back to this. Go back up here. Hold on, just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, so why on earth are all these pillars here? Was it literally just to get to that crystal which I already got? Fair enough. Whatever, it's fine. Okay. Good. Weird. Why is it? I thought for a second it looked like it's cut. It's fine. Cut the screen off, but I guess. Oh no! I don't want to get captured. Don't. Oh god. Right now. Okay, well, now where do I go? Maybe there's something back here that I can... commit to it? Oh my god, don't start yawning again, please. Don't. Oh. Oh! Oh! Armadillos. Oh look, it's armadillos. They're armored. Wait, no, I'm not going to finish that sentence. Bonk. Let me just check. No, we probably still need a little bit more to get the level 2 upgrade actually. Yeah, I thought it was fucking hilarious to be honest. Isn't an armored armadillo a boss in like Donkey Kong 64 or something? Not that I know much about that game. I've watched people play it. Oh, I got cover. Let's go. Ow. Do you mind? I'm gonna shock you to death, please. Thank you very much. Whoa, that's a big explosion. That was a big explosion. Rude. Very, very rude. Aha! Did a thing. Oh, it's a seesaw. Be one of those days, isn't it, where I fucking yawn all the time again. Lovely. Fuck. I think I need to go like this. And then run. Oh, there we go. Just about made it. Let's go. Oh, no cutscene? No cutscene. Yeah. Oh, that looks like a trap. That looks like a trap. Not talking about the music genre. Ow. Hey. There you go. There you go. See ya. Oh. Yeah. I find you get like a... Oh. Ow. Okay, that was funny, but also terrible because I took damage as well. Can't stop burping now. Good. Oh, there you go. Come on. Oh, it's not even up. Okay, so one of them was a trap and one of them isn't? Oh no, they both were traps. That's disappointing. Very disappointed. I'm very disappointed. Anyway, level up. Oh yeah, let's level up. Yep, electric bomb thing twice. And skadoosh. Nice. Okay, so everything is level 3 technically. We'll just say level 3 because why not? That's better. Do I save it now? Because I probably will get ice breath relatively soon, I'd imagine. If the ice breath person's even here. Well, supposedly the guardian of ice, the ice guardian's here, but whether they actually are is another debate. Snap, smile, Woodbeard. That's interesting. Right? Oh, that was easy. New enemy, and it provided next to no challenge. Okay, then he died. Oh, hello, Mr. Dreadwing person thing. You want to fight on this bridge? Alright, fine. I'm gonna scoop you up and then just let you fall. Bye bye, bitch. And again.
Bye bye, bitch.
That never gets old. Oh, we can have a duel. Yeah. Duel. Well, last time I fought one of these, it died within a couple of seconds, so... You get a new record? Probably not. Not going too well. Oh, I can break the arena. Oh, so they can just, like, fall off. That'd be kind of nice, actually. Oh, please. No, don't slide that way. Oh, I got some... Excited then for a second. I got excited. Oh, Stone Golem boy. Ah, Pintos, fuck off. Oh, dear. Bum bum ba bum bum. I will not lie. This is slowly becoming a bit like Scalar, where it's like, oh look, I'm doing the same moves over and over again. I know it's different locations in it. There's probably a little bit more story to this than a lot more story to this than Scalar, but you know, I feel like the name Spyro is just carrying this game at the moment. Oh, what in the Tomb Raider is this? What in incarnation is... Oh, I better not, just in case. Oh, look, the power of leaves. Good for you, bud. You're actually playing RE4 Remake? Oh, the Mercenaries mode. Ah, nice. Actually pretty easy. It's actually pretty good, but it's super easy to get S+ rank. Ah, nice. Is it not that hard, huh? I've seen like a few people play it, like Jill and a few others. Play this like Leon, and I think you can you play as Wesker as well in that? Or Ada? Well, maybe. Actually, my first time playing this, and I've already gotten S+ on half the stages on my first try. Nice. I mean, but you are pretty good at Resident Evil, though. Hey, Ethereum, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. I'm doing alright, keeping myself awake. And having heartburn burps, but apart from that, we're doing alright. Can't complain. How's things with you? How have the streams been, or how's just things in general? Been playing any more D&D, or just you've been flat out with other things? Oh, turn the music down a little bit. I notice it's peaking a little bit on OBS. So just down a little bit. Also, while I got a minute as well. Give you shit. Give you a shout out turn. Oh yeah, you were playing Shining Force last night, weren't you? How was that? Not great, honestly. I've had a real bad headache all day, and I've had enough of trying to rest it off, seeing as it doesn't want to pass. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Aaron. I hate those types of headaches where they just like, well, just headaches, colds in general, where they just don't want to. They just you're trying to tell it to fuck off, but they just won't. Those are the worst ones. Stubborn little shits. But I hope filling in here can help a little bit. Might not be much, but I hope it's a little bit. It's just because the song looping. I think the song is very much looping. I'm burning everything. Probably not the greatest thing to say out loud. I don't want to miss any gems. Wait, how are we doing for upgrades? Oh shit, it's nearly full. Fuck. Okay. Do I want to max out? Do I max out lightning or do I max out fire? Okay, which one sounds better? Drag Soothe, Fire Blast of the Internal Inferno. Pretty spectacular. Icklemar's Almighty Electric Stream. No, fire sounds much better. So it sounds like an apocalypse. I reckon it's going to take like 2 full. Well, yeah, I'd say about another full one of those, and that would level that up. Yeah, I think I want to level up the breaths themselves first, and then the bombs, like the triangle, the range attacks, the projectile attacks. Shining Force has been going well, but everything is hitting like a truck now, some of which bypasses defense. Oh, I remember you saying before, yeah, some of the enemies when they do attacks or skills that bypass your armor and defense, which suck. That sounds awful. Hopefully it's not damaging the playthrough too much. Oh my god. I need to stop yawning. Oh, wait. It fell like 3 levels and it just died. Okay. Full damage! Nice. I'd like the gems, please. Okay. Why just run around when you can just jump up. Doop-a-doop-a-boop-a-doop-boo. You can't even run and I can't even charge and jump. That sucks. How much of mercenaries have you got left though, Ben? By any chance? Is there like 3 or 4 characters you can do it with? Hey, hey, hey! Do you fucking mind? Oh. What I thought. Yeah, oh, you got fucking yeeted and deleted. Nice. Whee! Nice. That's good stuff. I didn't have D&D on Saturday though. Spent half the session solving a 7-verse riddle, and now we have to solve a magic-based puzzle to get keys to a rune forge. So my character's going to use us to help with it. Oh no! You like magic? Sorry, no can do. I'm afraid. I'll make sure our swords are sharp. I guess. I can sing a little tune while we wait. Oh, hey, 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 hey. Fire, fire, fire. Hey, why are you blocking him? Why does he look like Crunk from Crash Nitro Kart? You know, you know. Ah. I'm a spear using tank and can't do magic. I can't do magic. That's probably probably, to be honest, that's probably a blessing in some ways. You're just like, oh no, but then you're waiting on them to fix it, so it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time. So you're not actively working it out, but you're waiting for them to work it out. Does that make sense? All brawn and no brains. That's. Are you talking about me or? I mean, I think we've established that already. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, I don't have to worry about this. Oh, and then like 10 minutes later, you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, come on. It can't be that hard. Quick, roll on dexterity. What if there was an option though to like brute force it open? That'd be quite funny. Quick, roll on strength and luck. I guess we can get out of this mess. Oh, hey, oh, wait, where the armadillos coming from? Did I? I think I did something. I think I did something. Put Sap Strange Willow. Great name. That's like my best friend next door. No, it's Briarclaw Hazel Heel. I need to write some of these down. If I'm gonna make a D&D character at any given point, I need to like remember these. What's up here? Oh. Is it secret? Am I not meant to be here? Oh, it's a dead end. Oh, that's a fucking lot of shit. I almost have enough HP to put the other 3 party members' max HP fully into mine. Without having any overflow. Plus my AC is a whopping 35. AC attack speed. No, is that what it stands for? Armor class. Fuck's sake, I've played Might and Magic 7. I should know that shit. And it was like 20 years ago, but like, 15, 20 years ago, but I should know this shit. Armor class. That's a game actually I want to play at some point, actually. That is a game I want to play at some point. Might and Magic 7. We're talking nostalgia trips. And one of the very few PC games I ever played fully was Might and Magic 7. Or Blood and Honor. Very, very good game. Oof. I might make that like a weekend game, maybe. I don't know. Let's see how I feel. Basically, how hard I am to hit, and a lot of things need a roll a crit to hit me unless I use magic. Yeah. I'm with you now. Armor class. Yeah, it's like evasion, and but also like what armor you wear and stuff like that. So you can either dodge or you can just ignore the attack output that enemies throw at you, basically. Oh, I just unlocked the hand cannon for mercenaries. Normally, you're supposed to be at professional without using any bonus weapons to get it, but I just got it like 20 minutes. Oh. Well, I mean, at least you got it, I mean, you can't complain. Right? Maybe? Win's a win? No? For fuck's sake, yeah. Look at all these armadillos that are spawning. Lovely stuff. Some of the gems just fell. It's honestly amazing though how much upgrade energy I'm getting so quickly. Like I can probably level up Fire Breath fully now. This. Probably. Maybe. Oh, it's gonna be tight. Oh, I did too. Let's go. Huh. So my Fire Breath is now maxed out. Oh, let's test it out, shall we? Oh, wow. That is a bit beefy. Well, put it this way. It's doing more damage, and the explosion image, the flame image is a lot more extravagant, shall we say. Worth it. I mean, as long as it does more damage, it's immediately worth it. Fuck your crops, fuck your crops, fuck your crops, fuck your crops. Oh, a surf-etched. Not a far-fetched, a surf-etched. I'm the only frontline fighter, so I have to kind of have to be as tanky as I am. All the others are spell flingers or a bow using DPS with some spells. Ah, makes sense. Makes sense. If you're the only one that's, you know, taking the damage and then dishing it back out in terms of using like swords and stuff, then yeah, that makes sense. Oh no! I pressed the wrong button. Fuck. Back up I go. Now that makes total sense. Right. Circle, not R1. Oh, for all around me are familiar faces, worn out places. Is that a house? Sorry, I'm just referencing Sonic 06 fandom. Well worth a watch. And the Shadow the Hedgehog one as well, actually. I think it's Snapcube. So funny. Hey Shadow, it's me, the devil. It's like a fucking New York accent. And he's a New Yorkian. Good stuff. Briar Heel Grand Trunk. Trunk. Giggity. Okay, let me just English is hard. What I'm about to provide is quite the shock. My brain is functioning on like 0.1% capacity at the minute. Please bear with me. It's like when you put a phone on hold. It's just my brain is just constantly on hold. And you got that elevator music in the background. It just loops. But yeah, I typically play either tank or melee DPS when it comes to D&D. That's fair. Yeah, I'd probably be the same, to be honest.
Kane!
It's gotta be Kane! Oh shit. Wait, did you just learn Ice Breath like that?
Buddy, you were getting weirder and weirder by the second.
He was like... I can imagine my reaction. That's probably like my reaction. It's like, has anyone ever told you that you're a bit weird? When my glasses are like upside down and my hair's all over the shop. Okay, so I can upgrade Ice Stream of Chilled Rapids. Yeah, I guess. Okay, that was enough. Let's go. Right. Okay, so it's already gone up a level. That's fine. Right, so we'll save up now for... Oh. Yay! The game is frozen. Sweet. Do you know what? I love it when the game freezes. Well, not the game freezes, the capture card freezes. Get it? Because we just had ice breath. Ah. It actually transferred into real life. Who knew? I'm actually getting ice breath and then freezing the capture card. Freeze. Well, pardon me. It gave you a chilly response. No, give me the cold shoulder. That's what it did. Hey. Oh, so I can't freeze things? Well, that's a bit shit. Or maybe the projectile one is the is what gives me the ability to. Oh, I just died. Okay.
Here we go.
So we're finally here. Oh wait, wrong game. Performing for you. If you know the words, you can join in too. Put your hands together if you wanna clap as we take you through this monkey rap. DK. Donkey Kong. Oh, you meant like. Right. Oh Jesus! I'm getting banged by rock golems. Jesus. And that sounds like a recipe for a D&D scenario. Ow. You like can I just not die? Like, I just need to get good, don't I? Really? Ah! Don't hit me! Oh! Don't hit me, please! Okay, yeah, health. Oh, you're beckoning me? Wow, brave. I mean, I was nearly dead, so that makes sense. Yeah, I'm trying to use my flame because it's the most powerful weapon I have now. Joke's on you, motherfuckers. Appreciate the note, Ben. Appreciate the hope the mercenaries stuff goes well. I mean, you're not wrong. See? Again, I should do a D&D campaign. Never done one before, actually. Like, ever. Or I should play Baldur's Gate. One of the two. Baldur's Gate 3. I have seen one scene from Baldur's Gate 3, which questioned a lot of things. I was also not surprised. It involves a barn and well, I guess bestiality at that point? Yeah. It was something. It was quite the image, should I say. Oh, the bear. Mm-hmm. The bear in the barn? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I saw that and I was like, oh, okay. They really went ham on this one. I was like, okay then. Nothing is off limits. Cool. You can walk around naked in Baldur's Gate 3, so there's nothing. So there's that. Yeah, nothing's off the table. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you're doing a D&D campaign, you gotta do it right? You know what I mean? You gotta go out with you gotta do it with a bang, right? I mean, not in. I mean, I suppose in both sense, really. Yeah. Whoa, torch him. Oh, I can't stop burping. It's fucking horrible, dude. Well, if I didn't get health from that the enemy, I would have died. The dynamite, so that's good to know. Ow! Fuck you! Ow! Womp womp womp.
It's okay. We can try again.
Yeah, we can try again because I now have full health, so I can just go full send. Yep, just like in D&D, you can do as much as the Dungeon Master allows. The Dungeon Master, or is it, is that what it's called? Dungeon Master? Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons, it's the Dungeon Master, isn't it? There's a lot of banging in Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, I'm aware. There's a lot of romance options. And whatnot. But yeah, the one with the bear, just the bear scene, just I can still visualize the scene in my head. I think that's not going to go away for quite some time. Dungeon Master, sometimes they get called Game Master. Ah, okay. Or GM, or Grandmaster. Ooh, okay. GM. That's why I think of GM, Grandmaster. I'm gonna hit the bamboo. Okay, so ads are about to start. Uno momento, so... Por favor. Por favor. Yeah, about a minute and a half, we've got ads. King should have been called Medieval Sexapades. Sexcapades? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Probably. Okay. Still not enough. Okay, that's fine. I wonder if this game actually like tells you like, hey, by the way, you've got like a full, you've got a full upgrade circle now, or maybe it just doesn't. It doesn't fully come. It does. It's like the ring just can keep expanding, so that you have so much. Maybe there is no limit. That's what I was trying to get at. But I just made it so convoluted. That was a big boom. That was two. How Spyro just does not take damage from his own bombs, like his own fire bombs. Great. Okay, hold on. Well, ads are about to start, so I'm gonna run away. Hold on. Everybody stay calm. Everybody stay calm. Whew. Alright. Yeah, I think ads are about to start, so I'm just gonna pause the game, take a moment, and stretch and things. And yawn. Oh my god. But yeah, once we get once the upgrade thing on the bottom left pops up, we'll what? Oh. Apologies for the ads. 3 minutes worth of ads, but we won't miss any gameplay, so don't worry. Just might miss me talking off my head. Here's the thing in a D&D campaign. I was in one of... As I say, enter. Yeah, no worries. I'll read it. I'll read it when I'll read it once the ads finish. No problemo. I would love to play I would love to play a D&D campaign, but not a regular D&D though. Oh, one of those like, is it like, what do they call it? Like one shot campaigns, or like where it's like fast paced sort of style ones. Is that right? They might be differently named. I'm not sure. I don't know. Oh, actually, well, I remember. Let me check my YouTube. Probably I've lost all my subscribers. No one cares. Oh wow, yeah. People have been watching Rayman Revolution. That's something at least. Max Payne. The first 3 episodes of Max Payne, streams of Max Payne, are live. The finale's tomorrow. What about my shorts? Anything nice there? 81 views for the Syndicate video, brawl video where I broke someone's back. Nice. Appreciate all that, everybody. Appreciate that. Now I'm talking about the Cyberpunk pen and paper RPG. Ah, okay. Gotcha. I see. Right, ads about to finish in about 5 seconds or so, so I'll read Ethereum's stuff proper so that you can hear me and see me. Alright. Currently I'm in a Pathfinder campaign, D&D 3.75e, which is where my tank is currently going full boring. Nice. So here's the thing in a D&D campaign. I was in one of the other party members. One thing in a campaign I was in. One of the other party members had sex with someone who had an invite to a party we needed to get into. So while they were going on, we stuck in and stole the invite. Oh wow! Just like, don't mind us. just. I noticed the playlists are not in proper order. Oh, for the YouTube? Right, okay, hang on. Oh, they're probably in release order. Is that what it is? Probably what it is, isn't it? Hold on. Is it? Wait. Be added orders. Is that? And also the FF7 ones are in a jumbled order? Oh, are they? Fuck's sake. Oh, why is it manually sorted in YouTube? Like, what the fuck? Hello? Yeah, why is it... Why is... Oh my god, what the fuck my life. Thank you, Jax. No, I want date published oldest to newest. That's what I want to do. So now it'll go from 1 to 3. Yeah, that's the right order. Okay. Let me check. Date published oldest. There would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so Rayman. Is that right? Is it newest or is it oldest? I don't even fucking know at this point. Well, newest and oldest seems to be doing the... Okay, so FF7 remake should be fine. I think. I don't know why that one for some reason was the way it was. Rebirth. Okay, this one's better. Rebirth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, 16. Nice. Okay. Okay, so Rebirth is fine. But it was for Why is somebody's manually sorted in YouTube? Like, whose fucking bright idea was that? Yeah. I fixed remake. Remake was all jumbled up. I don't know. It was like part 5, then part 3, and then part 4, and then part 1, and I'm like, huh? Like, what the fuck do you mean? I think the. Is there any others? Oh, now I want to go through them all. Shit. Wait, I needed 2 videos of DMC Devil May Cry? Oh, wait, why is the finale first? Why the fuck is that first? There we go. Crash Team Rumble. Why is there a picture of fucking... Why is that in... Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Why did I put that in a playlist? I can't even delete it at this point. I may as well leave it in there. Fuck it. Alright. Final Fantasy 16. Demo, part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Origins, Sonic Origins. Sonic 1 and Sonic CD, Good Future. Part Sonic 2. 4. Yeah, okay, that's fine. YouTube Shorts, Super Smash Bros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's fine. Some of them, even though some are manually sorted that are fine, but then some are just aren't, which makes no fucking goddamn sense. I think. Okay, I think that's okay for the most part. But if you do notice any more, Jax, please let me know, and I'll fix it next ad break or something. Anyway, welcome back everybody from the ads. Let's continue where we left off. Final Fantasy 16 is okay with the only exception being the missing scene. I think what happened there, I think it got copyrighted for some reason, and I think what I should have done is mute the scene, but I just told YouTube to take it out. I think that's what happened. That sounds about right in my head, because I didn't really know what any different at the time. But now I just be like, now I'll either dispute it or just be like, look, just mute the scene. Don't bother trying to, like, don't delete it because people still want to see it. A lot of the time when things get copyrighted, it's just like random fucking places going like, hey, yeah, we copyright this, and it's like, no, fuck off. But yeah, that's on me. That's a me problem. Well, that's not me problem, but that was a me accident thing. That's me. It wasn't like I uploaded because I uploaded the VOD, so it would have, it would have had all that. It's just when I uploaded to YouTube, YouTube was like, no. I was like, I'll just take it out. It's fine. I mean, I think it was what my first proper game I was played on like VOD thing. So I probably thought that no one would watch it, to be honest. I know that sounds sad, but you know what I mean. I mean, I still think that now, but you know what I mean. I have some other silly D&D moments, not quite as silly as the sex traction moment, though. I mean, D&D love throwing out crazy moments, don't they? They're not your sort of like typical run-of-the-mill sort of moments either, are they? They're not like, oh, something happened. It's not like, oh wow, you know, we killed this thing first time or something. Or it's like, no, you try and like, it's like, no, you try and I don't know, like romance a, like charm a snake, but then you do a critical fail and it ends up poisoning and killing you instantly or something like stupid like that. Yeah, it's normally like a bot. It's just a load of people like have bot accounts and they're like, oh yeah, this is us. This is copyright. I remember James Lee 85 talking about it before. Like I said, if you want to like progress through on YouTube or try and get to, like through YouTube like partner or whatever it is, then just like before you get it, like just try and just go through all your videos and just dispute them. Because 99% of the time, it's probably those bots that are trying to say it's copyrighted when it's not. You know what I mean? But I'm not. I don't think I'm that far in. So, I mean, like in terms of just like actual growth and stuff, I've had a lot of subscribers actually pop through. Like we've gone from like ever since I started like regularly putting up my VODs, we've gone from like 3 to like 16 subs, which is like crazy. Like that's actually kind of nice. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It's that sweet number. Well, it's 69. Not sweet 16, sorry. Yeah. That's like 69? Nice. Oh no, sweet 16. Yeah, I knew you meant. Oh. But yeah, you know, it's just... See, I mainly upload it now. I should have done it, like... I should have done it years ago, but, you know, when I... Probably, like, a year after I started streaming, but... I didn't know where this was going, really. Like... I thought it was just, I was just going to plod along and then, you know... Probably, to be honest, normally, if I do a hobby, I get sick of it and quit it after like 2 years. Like a year or so. So I'm shocked that I'm even still going. But yeah, I should I feel like, I don't want to say like next, like if I did it, like if I did it again, like if I started from scratch again and streamed like I did before, you know, during COVID and stuff, and then I would have made my VOD channel a lot earlier than when I did it. Just so there's a lot more. It's a lot more like it's like it's an archive. It's like a lot of things you can just go and watch back. It's like, you know, I say, you know, I play this, or I play Crash Tag Team Racing or something, or like Crash Nitro Car, and they're like, oh, have you played CTR? And it's like, yeah, I have actually. And it's on my YouTube channel. And then like, poof, and they can just watch it. You know, you can watch my reactions to it, or you know, have you played Devil May Cry? And it's like, yep, all the games are on there, but it's only the only Devil May Cry game is on there is DMZ Devil May Cry, which is a bit sad because I kind of wish I had my DMC 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 playthroughs on there. Yes, it's more so like the first playthroughs. I probably more than anything, I would have loved to have on there, but alas. like FF7 OG, FF8, FF9, FF. I mean, oh, if I had FF10 on there, oh, that would be so cool. Like I can just I can watch back my first like reactions to my first playthrough of FF10. Reads the Tales of Game streams. Oh yeah, Tales of Vesperia was that was a marathon. That was a marathon and a half. That game. It was like just when you think it's over, it's like, oh no, this is Act 1, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, fuck. But it was so good. I will say. I don't know if I prefer Arise. I think Arise was a bit shorter. Well, much shorter, I think, in terms of length.
Why don't you get out of here and leave me in peace? I'm the boss here, nobody else.
Boss of what?
Shh, you're all alone?
Only until I kick these bums out. Which reminds me, I can't stand here chatting with purple dragons and mosquitoes.
Hey, whoa.
Still listen to
Mosquito?
Hibana, actually, the main theme, the first theme of Tales of Arise.
Oh,
Such a
could
banger
you
of a
about
song.
our welfare now?
No need. We can take care of ourselves. Anyway, we need to get to the
Wanna
shrine.
place my only just like the flower that moves and grows to me over and over again. Lie to yourself and me. You to yourself and I might be. We forget, accept destiny. So let's tell me now. Yeah, just like the. Keep the flame alive. Such a banger of a song. But I do like, and the Vesperia one was really good too, actually. Oh yeah, that's true. I think the Witcher 3 whole playthrough was on YouTube. If I'm not mistaken. And maybe Crisis Core Reunion. I think. I'll have to check. Maybe I can put those into playlists at some point. Somewhat to do with this extraction moment. By my character, my first ever time to try in D&D, and by the way, after we got into the party, my monk was disguised as a wizard so I can imitate a wizard spell with my key. Nice. I got put over by a guard who pulled me over and questioned me as he thought I was not the wizard in question, so I set his hair on fire just... And turns out that guard was a monster called a Slard, and he hit me and infected me with the Chaos Phage. They make more of themselves. Ah. To be continued. Right, okay. Jesus, that sounds like an eventful party. Crisis Core Reunion was the last game I streamed on YouTube. I thought so. Yeah, I tried it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about multi-streaming. Like I didn't mind it, because I didn't mind having the extra chat to look at and read and whatnot, but... I think I'd rather have it separated. So like, hey, if you want to watch it, if you want to watch an old stream back, then you can just on YouTube, and you don't have to worry about chatting and stuff. I don't know. Maybe I didn't put enough effort into it. Maybe I don't know. So with literally hours left to live, I went to a library and opened a book that was a monster and set myself on fire, and the library site went out in a blaze of glory. Oh my god, that sounds amazing. I wish I was there to witness this. It's like, well, I'm gonna die, so I'm gonna take out this fucking library with me. Fuck it. Hey, that's, I mean, you know, probably the first thing you want to get rid of is knowledge. So that they don't remember they don't remember what happened. Maybe. Oh. It gets better yet. So as a result of me dying, I turned into a slahad and infected another member of my... Oh no. Ah. And just when he thought it was over, it wasn't. Nice. I mean, you did go in a blaze of glory, to be fair. Like, that is one thing I can commend you for. Oh shit, actually. Oh, yeah, it's never ending. Because, like, I noticed it was full, but then it wasn't going down, and then it went down after a little while. So, okay. So we've got the upgrade now. So the ice is now level 3. Okay, that's good. It's now the same as lightning. I think I would save up for lightning increase. Yeah. That one. I watched a few streams of Outside Xbox playing D&D, and it was very funny the hijinks they got up to. Oh, I can only imagine. I haven't watched much of Outside Xbox. I haven't watched much of Outside Xbox and PlayStation Access recently, to be honest. I liked Outside Extra more than Luke. Is it? Yeah. I liked Luke from Outside Extra. He was hilarious. And Ellen? No, is it Ellen? Oh, who's the girl with him? Shit, I can't remember her name. She was cool. She liked Assassin's Creed and Dishonored. Oh, Luke's left, is he? Oh shit. Doesn't much I know. Damn. Did they say what he was doing, or just like, is he gone to like a game studio or something, or is he just gone to pastures new? He left this year. Ah, wow. Did not know that. Okay. Me and one of my close friends are absolute chaos if we're together in a campaign. I can only imagine. I think we all have that. We all have that one friend, though, I suppose. Like if you're in a campaign together, or like if you're doing something together, you'd just be absolute carnage. And then everybody just remembers never to let that happen again. No, I didn't mean to fall. Ah, fuck. The crystals. Fuck. Okay. Well, we need those. We've got the balls to roll into the holes. I liked Luke. He was funny. I remember watching. He was. She was playing Dark Souls 3 for the first time, and he was like guiding her, and it was quite funny to watch, actually. Basically, on what to do. Like, I'm not really sure about this whole like detection for moving the stone balls. Alright. Kinda sus. We've been in 15 campaigns together, and each time we had at least one moment in those campaigns, and I got the D and just go, oh my god, what? Oh my god, why? What do you mean? No, why on... You are not trying that. And Andy is funny. Yeah, from the outside Xbox. Yeah, Andy's really funny. He's probably the I think I like him the most out of the three that were there. That I remember there anyway. And then I think it's got to be Rob for PlayStation access. It's got to be Rob. Me, Rob's my favorite. And then I think Rosie's a close second. That's 3. Just every time Rob does his Friday feature, he's like, "Hello there. Well, you've caught me." Rob is basically my spirit animal. Yeah, he's like, "You've caught me playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and I can't do this bloody jump." It's just so funny. These are 10 times where games infuriated me. Good stuff.
The Shrine God has not been appeased since Cinder's forces came. He is not happy.
Sounds it.
So is anybody fun around here?
You can't possibly face the god of the shrine alone.
Do you... The god of the shrine?
Loner's cave. I'm not going alone. Well, maybe someday you'll learn that 2 heads are better than 1.
Oof!
Even if they are pinheads.
Yeah, what?
Got him. I mean, what? Even if one of them is an absolute idiot. Wait, what? That's a boat.
I'm not sure I like the looks of this thing.
Now you tell me.
What is this? Fucking Jack and Dexter? Riding boats now. It's gonna be one of these things where it's like, don't like freaking Kingdom Hearts 2 in Tron's level where you're like, oh, don't let it go too overweight, otherwise the boat's gonna fall off. I hope it's not one of those. I think it's fine, alright. I think we're alright. I'm not a fan of this music. Definitely, yeah, it's too atmospheric. It's such a jarring. It's such a well, not too atmospheric, but like because the levels feel like hub worlds in the sense of like when you're walking around, it's like, oh, it's like I'm in Autumn Plains or a summer forest. I'm not in like a level. Okay, it's dramatic now that we're in combat, but that's about it. Apart from that, it's very quiet. I will admit that. It's such a change from the original, like, well, not even original, like just from A Hero's Tale. It's such a change from that. Like, I don't know, like, you look at A Hero's Tale and it was like, wow, it's lush and colourful and vibrant, and then this is like a bit more dull, dark, gritty. You know? Like, you compare this to a Hero's Tale, you wouldn't think it's the same, like... You think, honestly, I would have... If you put those two games together and said which one came out the latest, I probably would pick Hero's Tale. Because of how vibrant it looks. It graphically... I'd say it graphically looks better than this game does. Whether that's a hot take, I don't know. But then nobody plays this game, so probably no one cares at this point. But that's just my feelings on it. You know what I mean? So I totally get what you mean, though, Jax. It sounds bombastic, but not in a good way. Yeah, it's such a jarring change of gameplay style. Yeah, it's just everything. Like the tone, the feel of it. It's just so different from a Hero's Tale. It's like, whoa. One such moment that I'm sure the DM regretted immediately was that we went up to one of the enemy generals for a chat. Oh no, that never sounds good. That's never good. Why is the boat about to break? Please? Oh, I don't want to die. Oh, fuck off.
Well, that was fun.
I've got to do all that again, haven't I? Wait. Yeah, I've got to do all that again, haven't I? Shit. Right, let me read what Ethereum said. Sorry. I got distracted. One such moment is why I showed the DM immediately was that we went up to one of the enemy generals for a chat, but we ended up casting 2 spells, Control Gravity and Force Push on his armor. That sent him to the moon, instantly negating the incoming big fight. Just like, and poof! Off you go. This song would be a much better fit in a different game. Hey Cinema, how you doing? Welcome in. Good to see ya. How you keeping? Hope you're well. Hope you're well. I don't think that's enough though, is it? No, it's not gonna be enough. Damn, we're not far away though. You're not far away. Wait. Is this? Wait. Oh. Did I just... Was I meant to get off and then just didn't bother because I was fighting these things? Oh, okay. Whatever. A couple of pranksters. I can only imagine. It's not like you had a... You sound like you two had a whale of a time. When enough is when is enough with this strategy? When enough is enough. Is it like Star Wars? What, this game? Cinema? No. We did. The DM? Not so much. Yeah. Immediately regretting his choices. His life choices. Ow. Ow. Oh, fine, it's got molly-whopped. If you're talking about this game, Cinema, no. It's I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't say it's like Star Wars. There's enough with this trilogy. Yeah, I saw it, Jax. It's all good. Ow. Star Wars teaches kids to count 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, -1, 8. Yep. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. It's time to stop. No more. Fuck are your parents? Who are your parents? To stop. Yeah, I think one thing we can categorically say with this game, it hasn't aged very well. I don't think. I think it's gonna be enough. Star Wars trilogy, then another trilogy, then another 5 movies. Yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. That checks out indeed. I'll go this way, maybe? Is this the area that I missed? What? Do. Oh yeah, it's literally the start. Yeah. I came from up here, and then, yeah. Welcome back, Lycan. Yeah, don't forget the little hands, like the side films and the prequels and sequels and origin stories and mini quests and whatnot. Ow. Oh, I can shortcut this way, I guess. Ow! Okay, I didn't see that coming. But baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. To be honest, I haven't really watched all of the Star Wars films. Like, I've watched 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, and 3, I think. I'm pretty sure I remember watching those. But like in terms of the new ones and like the Han Solo story and stuff like that, I haven't watched that. Or like Mandalorian or that kind of stuff. Another moment was we unknowingly humiliated the BBEG in the first hour of the campaign by pulling down his trousers in the middle of the back pocket and getting him in prison for it. Oh my god, that's hilarious. When you say BBEG, is it like Big Bad End Game Boss or Big Bad Evil Guy? Is that what you mean? Big Bad Evil Guy. Nice, nice, nice. Oh wow, the fucking horn dive is overpowered. Dang. It's a chunk of health away. Bonk. Oh. Big Bad Evil. I think we can get lightning fully. Watch other games where we're like, oh, you should have been using the ice breath because that's what you just unlocked, and I'm like, but it sucked, so no. Guess I missed absolutely nothing. Cool. Out in here. Nice. Okay. How are we doing for right now? Oh, yeah, that might work. Yeah, let's go. Okay, so fire and lightning are fully upgraded now. I might save now for the ice thing that we get at the end of this. So maybe even upgrade ice even more.
Admit, you've done better than I thought possible.
Ah, saying that had to hurt.
More than you can imagine.
Yeah.
There are some things you should know about the shrine before you enter.
Oh, look, there's Cinder.
And I think we're done here.
Not before we rescue Cyril.
The Etloa shrine has been desecrated. And the god of the shrine has not been given tribute since Cinder's forces arrived. But if you can subdue his anger, the balance will be returned, and my people can come home.
That's fine, but I came to free Cyril.
You must go through the god of the shrine to free him.
Knew you were gonna say that.
It got to a point where a lot of DMs would let the two of us characters go off on their own away from the party as we built up a reputation for pure chaos. Nice. Like people caught on more like nah. You are inextricably bound to the party. You must not leave their sight. Or something along those lines. Okay, so it's down. Okay, so up is fire, right is lightning, down is ice. Whee! Oh, autosave. You know what that means. It's about to go down.
Be careful. Remember last time.
I know, but Cinder left and I don't see any Ice Kings hanging around this place.
Pretty much, but we were still cause chaos because just was more harmful at times. Nice. Nice. Do you know something? Sparks was shocked. Sparks was shocked that he came out of the ground and was an enemy. Just the game is just letting you know that, okay? Just in case you weren't aware.
Well, I learned. When things look good, run for the hills.
Oh, look at that! You got it like a. Yeah, clever. Oh, whoa! Hey! That's very nice. That wasn't very nice at all. Oh, now you're blowing up my cover? Oh, that sucks. Whoa! All right. Whoa! Good dodge, Spyro. Good dodge, Spyro. Oh, well, fuck you then. Ah, so that's how you, like, damage him without using your breath. That makes sense. Pa! Oh, look at me dodging. What is this, Dark Souls? Robin, bitch. Oh look, I've taken down one layer of his armor. I'm chipping away at the stonework. Also, big shocker that this has got 3 phases. You wish. Ow. Oh. Right, last phase. You never know. I might have to, like, they might just skip this battle arena once I... Because the game has a habit of being like, hey, you've done here? Okay, bye. Yeah. If you didn't grab anything, then tough shit, basically. I will see a Dark Souls coming, I know. It's not as hard. It's nowhere near as hard as Dark Souls, but it's probably more annoying. Motherfucker. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Oh, right, yeah. Right, sorry. You were just dying just in front of my eyes. Nice.
You have subdued the god of the shrine, restored balance to seasons, the land, our world. The Adlowers want to worship you now.
Worship? Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. I've never gotten the respect I deserve, the praise that should be mine.
That's very nice, Kane, but we have to get back to our home. Figure out how to stop Cinder for good.
My dear Outlaws, I am Spark, scourge of the despots.
Yes, old boy, we'd like nothing more than to stay and be a part of your primitive barbaric society, but duty calls.
Duty calls.
If you must, you must. But know that you're now part of the Adlawa tribe.
Oh, wow. She's gone from hating us to being like...
By the way,
You were right.
About what?
maybe
Everything.
2 heads are better than one. Even if one of them belongs to an annoying mosquito.
Mosquito me? Is that... Oh.
Oh. D&D character I named myself after on here got to be a bit of a meme because of a pair of swords that the Dungeon Master gave me after I got a feat that said, if an enemy moves, I get to follow and attack them for free. Oh no. Those swords created a gale force wind that when swung, and if I failed the save, it had a very high save of 26, and they would get knocked prone and pushed back. You can see what this is. Oh no. Oh
All
no.
right, no more thesaurus for you, pal.
All of you, please be quiet. It is certainly encouraging that Spyro has been able to free 2 of you to allow this reunion. But haven't we forgotten someone?
Yes, of course. Terrador.
Precisely.
Which is Earth. Just keep swinging, yeah.
I believe I can help, Igniters. Well, young chaps, since you learned a few things about ice on tall plains, I suggest we adjourn to the training room so that I can teach you some more. The legacy of the great ice dragons of yore. My ancestors...
No one saw this coming.
Best of this somewhat bedraggled lineage is long and storied. With my help, rescuing Terrador should be a certainty.
Your pomposity, arrogance, and pretentiousness is odious to the extreme.
Shall we?
Oh, you learned a new breath, did you? Oh, be ashamed if you didn't learn about it. Am I right? Yeah, I can see where that's going.
Come here.
Well, you know, just We got a weather warning for gale force winds everywhere.
Certainly fire and electricity are nice sidelights, but now, young dragon, you will learn the secrets of ice, a power
I didn't even use it in Tall Plains, so I don't even know why I'm going to use it now. Hey, you never know. I could get surprised. Who knows? Could get surprised. Press and hold square to freeze the attacking dummies with your ice stream. Once frozen, melee them. Oh. Okay. Right, okay. Well, it wasn't like that when I played it earlier.
Come over here.
I don't know where he got the nickname of the Stormwind from. Ah. Imagine. Yeah, I you know what? I couldn't place it. I wouldn't know where to place it, Ethereum. Honestly. Your guess is as good as mine, you know? Okay, so it wasn't the ice breath wasn't doing this. Was it because is this because of the upgrade? Oh, that failed. Oh well, fuck off.
No, that simply will not do.
No, that just simply will not do. Right, okay, I'll try that again. Alright. I felt like the timer is just nowhere near as fucking long as the other ones. Maybe I just don't like this breath, maybe. Oh, shocker, I'm doing better second time round. No, freeze. Thank you.
Even a completely blind dragon finds success once in a while.
I beg your pardon.
This way, oh Mauve one.
As each dummy appears, hold down triangle to chill it with your ice shards. You must hit 10 dummies to pass the lesson. Oh shit. Oh, that's one. 2, 3. Oh no, they're moving. 4, 5, 6. You expect me to get 10? Hello? Oh, fuck off.
Back for more?
Spyro, come here.
It takes like fucking 10 years to aim in the right place. I swear they make it easier for you once you've failed it once. Oh, nailed it, I think.
Come over here.
This will sound a bit random, but I seem to have managed to get bath bubbles on my toothbrush. I really need to stop multitasking. You just chill in a bath and you're like, you know what? I need to brush my teeth. Well, that's a bad thing or anything, but you know, at least, you're cleaning 2 places at once, I guess. Your body and your teeth. Triangle to chill and slow down your... Oh, I wasn't paying attention. Am I just trying to kill them with the oh, what? Huh? Oh, so it slows them down. Okay. See. Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît. Voulez-vous?
Yes, that's it.
Running a bath while brushing... Oh, running a bath while brushing my teeth. Nice. You're not in it just yet. Gotcha. After defeating the small dummies, press R2 to do Ice Fury. Gotcha. So, a lot of this again, because I didn't get any purple gems, so you could be here a while. Ice Fury! Oh.
Well, you have mastered the element of ice, something few can boast.
Well, my D&Ds was a good distraction, it seems. They are a very nice distraction. They are a very nice distraction. Okay. Ads are about to start in 2 minutes, so... I think once we're done here and we're into the next area to rescue the Earth. I'm guessing it's Earth element, dragon guardian thing.
Exactly are you saying, Igniters?
Yes,
It's full of shit.
Your hypothesis is an intriguing one, but it is perplexing to the extreme.
Huh?
He says he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Dude, I never know what he's saying.
What I'm saying is that Cinder is harnessing the Guardian's power to unlock a portal that must never be opened.
Oh.
Why? What's behind this portal?
That doesn't concern
Rainbows.
you. What does concern you is getting to Munitions Forge and freeing Terrador before she can create another crystal from his powers.
And before the volcano blows, it's...
That's enough, Voltaire. Plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Plenty of time where we need more time to have horrible things happen to us?
He's like, yeah, don't tell him about the volcano that's going to explode. Don't tell him about that.
Oh, I'm a big deal there.
Quit complaining, Sparks. Maybe there's a tribe on Munitions Forge you can save too.
Yeah, but there's always something special about the first tribe you save. You know?
You always remember your first. That applies to a lot of things, actually. But well shot me. Everybody. Oh. Everybody dance now.
Munitions Forge is an island dominated by Boisterpink, an unstable volcano that makes life on the surface very dicey. The locals who live underground have been forced to mine the metals that Cinder uses to forge her army's weapons.
But what are the locals called?
They're called Manrismals.
Right.
Oh,
I need to write
God.
that down.
Rumor has it that Cinder is holding Terrador somewhere in the mines. We know she's using it to power the last of the crystal
The place has been run by boys in pink.
before she gets the chance.
Boy, is it big.
Boy, it's big. But no time for sightseeing, Sparks. Time to get serious.
Oh, fuck me. This game sometimes.
Not again!
This fucking game, man. And what was it? The population's called Manit Smalls? Oh my god, it gets better and better. What's wrong with Boys in Pink? No, not Boys in Pink. Boys It Big. That's the person that's the evil thing that runs this area that we're in. Boy Is It Big, but it's like spelt weird. It's just that cracked me up. I don't know why, but it did. Nice. Right, we've got the ice upgrade. Okay, so we're going to save up for the second upgrade on the ice shards. And then, depending on how quickly we get that earth breath, then, yeah. The humor is at odds with this game. Yeah, it does seem that way sometimes. Like, the game is trying to be, like, like the game setting and whatnot is quite serious, but then it tries to be really funny by doing like really random stuff or like making the characters trying to be like, haha, this is all a joke. I don't know why. I don't know why that made me laugh so much, but it did. Fuck. I must venture deep into this cave to find the lair of Boy Is It Big. What's his fucking psychic's name? Hugh Janus. Oh, you just gotta laugh. You just gotta laugh, right? You just gotta laugh. The problem is that its humor is undermining the serious plot. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Like Sparks trying to be, Sparks constantly, trying to be funny and humorous. No, you're an anus. Yeah. Actually, yeah, but yeah, Boy Is It Big or... No, that doesn't fit. Boy Is It Big? I think of like what you would like. What else? What you would say that would be the same meaning as that? If that makes sense. Look, boys can wear pink. Dang it! I'm wearing. I mean, technically, this is like lilac-y, pinky purple. So I'm wearing it right now. So the irony there is hilarious. I know why. I'm not dunking on it. God damn it, cinema. This is why I don't talk to people. You're all out to fucking get me. Half devs, I don't listen either. True. I have selective hearing. Does that count? That's what I say. Yeah, I have selective hearing. I only hear what I want to hear, right? I love witty dialogue and funny until as much as the next guy, but I want it to be done in a smart way. Yeah, that's fair. And if it makes sense, I guess. Yeah, as long as it like feels natural. To the story or the plot or the setting, I don't know. Do I want to use ow. Patrick. Don't want to die. Ow, that's really nasty. I feel like this area I need to like really concentrate, otherwise I'm just gonna die. Whoa, my god, there's explosions everywhere. One of my tank characters used to use a tower shield, but it wasn't actually a shield, but a door to a tavern. He got insulted. Door to a tavern. He got insulted he got insulted that he ripped off its hinges and used it as a makeshift shield, but also in tight, narrow corridors he could stealth by hiding behind it and acting as a door. Sneak attack the bow and suspecting enemy. That is fucking genius. It's like you get so out of time, like I'm fucking taking this door. There's nothing you can do to stop me. you're like, they're like, is that, what room is that? It's like, oh, I think that's, oh, that must be the new room, like room 403. Oh, yeah, because it's in between 402 and 404. Oh, so we didn't have like odd numbered rooms. And then just like, poof, dead. And by the time they realize, dead. Mimicking a mimic, yeah, exactly. That gives a whole new meaning to the phrase accents tonight. It sure does. But it gives a whole new meaning to the joke knock knock. Like, knock knock, who's there? Me! You're dead now. Bye. Like I tell people to snowballs. Ah, lol. I can just do that and just put them in molten lava and they just die. That's nice. Dang it, someone's giving me earworms, so I'm going to share. DuckTales, woo woo. I think I've watched DuckTales. As blasphemous as that sounds. I have no idea what's going on anymore. I guess, yeah. I think we're finding the Earth Guardian. I think at this point, I don't even know. Probably gonna get him, and then it's gonna go wrong, and then we're gonna have to kill Cinder or something, and then the game's over, I think, or something. I don't know. I'll find it. We haven't done this in a while. Ooh. Ooh. Dang it, I can't get rid of an earworm if you've never heard of it. Ever heard of what? An earworm? I think I've heard of an earworm. Might be wrong. Okay. Get up, please. Oh, okay. We worked on so many enemies too. Some even used a spell called Knock to open the door and to bypass any trap, not knowing I was still behind said door. It's like, haha! Like, oh no, there's a trap there. They're like, special delivery. This is not the trap you're expecting. This is not the person you're looking for. He's over there.
Who's there?
It's me, Spyro.
And the former god of tall plains, Sparks.
You don't carry the stench of Cinder's beasts, I imagine.
Oh no, they sound French.
And who are you?
I'm Molière, leader of the Manwar Smalls. But I'm not much of a leader anymore. Those are the people
Man, they are small.
Scared out of their little wits, waiting for Buzzy's big
Man, we're smalls.
Which shouldn't be long. If you would help me free them, perhaps there's something I could do for you?
And he's even got a white flag rolled up on his nose, ready for the surrender.
Is he a matted dragon?
Yes. Why?
Because I know where he's being kept. In the mines near a large lever cap, where my own brother, Ex-Humor, turns away.
Ex-Humor? What a name is that?
Well, which way do we go?
Jesus
What should we do next?
Oh, it's simple enough, but we've got to hurry.
Ex-humor.
This big is getting more unstable by the minute.
Next is his sister's called Inhaler.
Before we can help your friend.
And you're asking him for directions? Wow, talk about blind leading the blind.
Forget
I
him.
just found out a very misleading animal. Oh, okay. Sparks is a god? Well, in the last area, because we helped a tribe, they now worship us, which includes Sparks and Spyro. So, technically, the tribe, they worship Spyro and Sparks because we saved the tribe. Cinema, basically. It's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek thing. Have you ever heard of a mountain chicken? I have not heard of a mountain chicken. I have not. Is it not a chicken? Does it not live on mountains? It got more silly as our party's wizard used a spell to cause a minor illusion of my character to lure them in if they use knock. If they use knock as a just in case. Oh my god. So if they open the door, you're like a lampshade. Light is on, but nobody's home. Oh, okay. Cool. I think I did it. A mountain chicken is a frog. Oh. Huh. Very interesting. Why would it play? And why did people? Oh, damn it. Oh look, we found a frog. What should we call it? Mountain chicken. For a fucking laugh, you know what I mean? And it just catches on. Like, I'd love to know the people that, like, named these things. So I can tell them how fucking stupid they are. Do you play D&D, Walsh? I do not. I've never played D&D. I know. Imagine saying I've never played D&D. I may as well just cancel stream now. And just delete all my socials and just cease to exist. Yep, and it caused a lot of death to the enemies as they were like, who is this idiot trying to fool? Suddenly sword at their side. Oh, fuck. Well, shit. You know that door that we knocked? Yeah, it turns out it's not just a door. Ow. 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 For fuck's sake.
Ready?
I'm not. I'm really not ready. I just use fire. Just use fire. Just burn these fuckers to death. Stop doing your fucking little... Why you got so much health, dude? No. Why is everything so dark? Oh, why is everything so dark? Nah. Here. Maybe it's called melon chicken because they used to eat it and put it in a cookie pot. Bob's your uncle. Melon chicken stew. Maybe, and then they realised that it's not actually a chicken, it's a frog. Maybe. I don't know how. But then again, if you don't know what a chicken looks like, how can you tell how can you tell a frog from a chicken? I suppose. Yeah, don't you laugh at me, little fucking bitch. No words to pick with you. Ice twister. Snorlax. I know what that is. I know what it looks like too.
You did it! You did it! 1,000 thanks!
It was nothing.
Hey, no problem, pal.
Well, you did your part. Now I will do mine. Your friend is being kept in the center of the volcano.
Sure, madame, let me present to you dinner.
Him and let him know we're friends, and he'll tell you how to proceed.
How will we know, ex-human?
Yeah, all you we smalls look the same
Be
to me.
our guest. Be our guest. Put our service to the test.
He is the most cantankerous, hard-nosed man we're small around. Whatever you do, don't get on his bad side.
Would he be a man? Man is large. Not a man we're small. Like a London thing, you'd say. Man we're small. Snorlax is in Smash Bros. Is he? Well, yeah. Oh yeah, it's like a trophy. Is he an ultimate? I don't remember being ultimate. Is it like a spirit, maybe? Or a trophy assist? It says trophy? Oh, it's an assist trophy, isn't it? Man, well small, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. In it, bruv. Man, well small, bruv. In it, fam. Or something. That's what the cool kids say. Manuel. Yeah. That's what happened when the Mexican healed from his injuries. He was Manuel. Man in a well, exactly. It's just never ending, isn't it? It's never ending. There are so many layers to this joke, this pun. It doesn't stop there. Okay. I don't really know what's going on anymore, but something's happening. Like purple gem, please. Oh my god. What the fuck is happening? Manuel? Yeah, Emmanuel? Emmanuel? Well, the well you ain't man. Something like that. By Da Vinci, the well you ain't man. By Da Vinci. I can see myself getting lost here. I can see myself getting lost here. I'm definitely not going to collect everything here, am I? Oh wait, hold on. Oh shit. So the ice shards are now level 3. So all the bombs, all the projectiles are level 3. So that's good. So we'll save up for Isthalan's hypothermic ice stream. Whatever that fucking means. I feel like that's the right way. Like, the deeper into the mines we go, I feel like that's the right way. Let's not go that way. Okay, I'm well and truly lost. Yes. Oh, wait. Oh, no, this is the entrance. Oh, okay, we just didn't... Wait, hold on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Hold on. I think we missed an area, though. Oh, no, wait, because we came from here, didn't we? The guy that we bumped into is here. And then... Yeah. Okay. I'm guessing this is like the other way you get to it? On the other side? Yeah, it is too. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So we've actually explored the area. Cool. Oh, it's the Vitruvian man. I never heard of that. I've never heard of that, to be honest. That's why it didn't click in my head. My bad. My art and literature and stuff is terrible. I never picked that category in Trivial Pursuit, put it that way. It's a drawing of a man like when you starfish on the bed. Ah, okay. Okay. Interesting. Oh. Oh. You'd think being in a volcano wouldn't actually, like, not hurt them, but, like, they'd be, like, fire resistant, but I guess not. I guess not. I mean, imagine logic applying here. Lol. Aw, too far away. Damn it. I want to push him into the lava. I think I've flogged this joke to death. And if you know of epic rap battles, he draws more dicks than New York Pride. Oh my god, that's hilarious. I haven't watched epic rap battles. I haven't watched epic rap battles in a long fucking time. That's what you mean, Ethereum. Epic rap battles. Man, those are the days. That is indeed what I mean. Hell yeah. I think the last one I remember watching was, I think it was Master Chief against Leonidas, I think it was. Maybe? And that was when, like, Halo 4 came out. Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm not surprised. As I say, that's the last time I've watched it. Yeah, it was that, and then it was Abraham Lincoln versus it was Abraham Lincoln one, and it was Barack Obama, and there was a Mitt Romney one as well. I remember watching that one. That was really funny. Not a company, get a pancake, live Labrador. Not seen that. I've seen Death Battle. Or like celebrity deathmatch sort of style things. AGB. Oh, you're cool. Oh yeah. I've watched that used to be on like MTV, didn't it? I remember watching that a couple times. But yeah, no, it's kind of like that, but just rap battles instead of an actual battle. It's just people rapping. It's actually pretty good. I enjoy it for the most part anyway. Please, please, please. Ow. Fucking hell, there's explosions everywhere. For fuck's sake. One of the most recent ones is Indiana Jones' Lara Croft. Oh, wow. Deadpool and a My Little Pony was hilarious because they're both seemingly immortal. Yeah, that's true. You can't kill My Little Pony, no matter how hard you try. I bet that was quite funny. Isn't it? It works weirdly as Deadpool has the odd obsession with My Little Pony. That is true as well, yeah. Because in the game, he referenced it in the films and in the game as well, isn't it? The Deadpool game? I'm sure he references My Little Pony. I might be wrong though. Yeah, I feel like for like just pure damage, fire is best, but like electric is pretty good for like knocking people around. And then removing like one from a group. Or just pushing them into like lava, like that. Lol. I thought that said Snake Eater, not Snake Fletcher, and I was like, Metal Gear Solid, hello? It like its game bag. Boom, 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 boom. The thrill. With darkness and silence through the night. The thrill. I'm searching and I'm melting to you. And in the comics. Oh wow. Photos of vote. I'm voting he plays the old PlayStation Deadpool game with Nolan North. Isn't that on Xbox as well? If it's the one I'm thinking of. I don't know. Now that is a very hard game to find as it bombed hard. Ooh. Isn't it on the Xbox store? I could have sworn it was on the Xbox store. Oh look, it's a scorpion. Oh. Buffalo Beetle. Oh, whoops, I just misnamed a whole thing. Oh, whatever. Whatever. It's happy, probably. It's dead now anyways, that's fine. Ew. Can you die, please? Thank you. Don't know. Actually, I can check. Let me have a quick look. Let me have a quick look. Oh. Hello. Welcome to the Discord. It was on both PS4 and Xbox One. Oh, okay. Okay. Let me double check then. Deadpool game. I mean, it's got 96% of Google users like this video game. So Oh, it was High Moon Studios. They did the Transformers games, actually. If I'm not mistaken. Oh no, don't sign me out. Fuck. Oh no. Deadpool. I think it's on the Xbox store. Is it the one that came out in 2013? I remember remembering it through nostalgic rose-tinted glasses, and it might be really bad. I've seen bits of it. If it's the same one I'm thinking of, I've seen bits of it, and it was quite very tongue-in-cheek. Is it on PlayStation Store? Probably not at this point. Because I can't really get on. If it's not on PlayStation Store, then I can't get on PlayStation because I have a discless. I have a digital edition of the PS5, so I can't do that. Which sucks. I think if you buy the Xbox One version of Deadpool, then I think it's backwards compatible, so you can that could be a thing. I mean, nobody really brought it when it came out originally, but got famous after the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool movie. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, if it's pretty cheap, then I don't mind picking it up. I might have a look at my retro store actually. That they might have. I didn't see the Xbox One version though. So maybe I'll just get it digitally. Maybe. I did not mean to press that. Okay. Anyway, as we were. But yeah, that's something I can add to the list of games to play. To be honest, I haven't really played many superhero games, to be fair. Thinking about it. Because the Spider-Man games I've played off stream, or before streaming. Marvel's Avengers is the same thing. I played that off before streaming. Yeah, we could do Deadpool. We could do the Deadpool. The dead Deadpool. Oh, I'm gonna die. No, fuck off. Need health. Not been a super slash anti-hero game either. I don't think what the closest thing I have to doing that. I don't think what the closest game is really. Oh, Batman. Yeah, I played the Batman Arkham games. That counts. Yeah, I played Arkham. Well, we played Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. The only one we haven't played is Arkham Origins, actually. I thought it was PS3. No, that's on Xbox as well. It's PS4 actually. You can get it on PS4. Because there was a Return to Arkham bundle, where I think they did it before Arkham Knight came out, and you can basically play Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, and it has all the DLC and stuff with it. I was gonna say Batman absolutely fucking counts. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's probably the main one we've played. I just know Nolan voice. I just know Nolan voices he himself and I.
I bet you can't ring that bell.
Why would I want to?
Oh, you're scared.
I'm not scared.
Oh, the big special dragon is scared of the mean old bell. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. Oh, no. I'm sorry, baby. Why don't I get your pillow laid out?
And we're about to die. Oh.
Spyro, can you hear me? You okay, buddy? Hey, listen, forget about those cracks I made about your fatness and your being purple and stupid and fat. Alright? Just get out of there, please, Spyro. Don't be dead.
You do earth magic and he's gonna like poof. Like that. Ta-da!
Did you say something?
Me? No, I was talking out loud, thinking of my day I gotta do.
Well, just thought I heard something before I blasted my way out.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no. Must be hearing things.
Selective hearing, you know. Babies? Spark's just called Spyro. He's his sweet baby. Yes. Earth shot breath. So right on the D-pad is Earth element in the future. Wait, what? No, it's left on the D-pad. You clown. Right is electric. You doofus. Okay, so we've unlocked Earth magic now. Okay, so we were midway through leveling up ice, weren't we? Okay. He's looking bell dumb right there. Badum. Wait, no. Just for you, Ethereum. Dumbbell stuck? Maybe. Maybe. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's one of those ones you don't. Oh, dumbbell struck. Oh, I see. You've been dumbbell struck? Is that what you mean? Dumbbell. Dumb. Dumbbell. Doesn't have the same ring to it as thunder. Name. Had huge potential though. Struck dumbbell. Ah, right. Okay. I think I'm with you now. I might not be, but I apologize. Dumbbell. That's stuck in my head now. It's not thunderstruck, it's dumbbell struck. Thanks, cinema. Appreciate it. Dumbbell.
Come on, you worthless waste of flesh. Let's go. We gotta hop on steam and get back to that flea-bitten dragon. The crystal should be almost ready, and the volcano is right on the brink.
Oh no, not on the brink. God, Thomas the Tank Engine's seen bad days.
Come on, Sparks, we've
Yeesh.
got to catch them.
You're supposed to catch the damn train, CJ. Wait, wrong game. Wrong game. Wrong game. It just cuts from the cutscene and it just explosions, and I'm like, okay. It's just okay. No words. No words. There are no words. Almost the tanked engine valley. Forgot, continues looking at big. I appreciate sun showers, no worries. All good. Scientists finally just did a study on forks. It's about time. That's the sound, the noise. That's the noise. That's the sound they make when you hit them. Like a pitchfork, right? Not pitchfork. Is it? It's like a tuning fork, right? Maybe? I don't know. But I hope you're well. Oh, I've unlocked one door, or one lock, I guess. Fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Ah. Get rid of your armor, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Ow. Okay. Yes, the earworm has wormed its way in. Okay. I'm getting slightly worried. You okay, Cinema? Do I need to call an ambulance? Don't worry about that. Okay. I'm just yeah, do your thing. Do your thing, do. Oh wait, I thought that was Cinder. It's fucking sparks just flying around. Don't worry, well, you'll just be hearing dumbbells a lot. Yeah. Yep. There you go. That looks ominous. Like, really ominous.
You don't know how to drive this thing.
How hard can it be? It's on rails.
Oi, famous last words.
The fucking trike. Oh, what is this? Fucking Crash Wrath of Cortex? Jesus. I can't see. I literally can't see what's going on. You know when you're too powerful and you just can't see jack shit? That's literally me right now. Oh my god, what is fucking happening? I should have given an epilepsy warning for this. Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry, everybody. You know this last time. Hey! Right. Oh, right. I gotta hit the crystals to get energy. Oh, that makes sense. Can I just stay right behind it? Jesus, golly gosh, this is fucking bad. Oh my god, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Oh my god. I'm definitely gonna die. Go down. Need health. Need health. Need health. Oh, I'm dead. I've got to do this all again? Oh, this is going to be horrible. Attack steam mode and it can boost by ramming it or pressing triangle to shoot fireballs. Let's see. Jesus fucking Christ, I just land on the thing. I wish this game was as good as Wrath of Crimson. To be fair, there is a minecart section in that game, which feels very similar to this, but it's much better. Like, it's actually much better. Nowhere near as this. It's nowhere near as jarring as this. But music too. Oh, fuck off. Come on. Nope. Guessing at this point. I'll see. How are you going to dodge that? Am I meant to like backpedal maybe? Okay, yeah. Well, now I gotta just like outrun it, I guess. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, dude, Spyro, you can fucking fly. It's not as bad as of an epilepsy wanting a shunning forces with his spells. True, that's fair. What did Romans use to cut pizza before the rolling cutter was invented? Little Caesars. Caesar's jolly good fellow. Jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. Yeah, I usually watch Twitch on my big TV. Channing force over 50 over 50 inches is seizure inducing. Oh my god. Yeah, my TV's a 43 inch. But that was quite, and it's a 4K TV, so it was quite nasty on the eyes. I will not lie. Oh, come on. Live my life, damn it. Been playing Overwatch. No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I get everybody else playing better games than what I'm currently playing right now. Who wouldn't want to watch this fucking shit show? Oh. I'd rather not. Oh, that actually, that whole like minecart section has actually genuinely hurt the back of my head because of how much flashing there was. Oh, off you go. Sayonara. How are we doing for upgrades? Oh, fuck yeah, we're doing alright, to be fair. Let's see if we can upgrade ice to fully upgrade. Yeah, okay, that's done. Nice. So we're just gonna upgrade Earth Shot now. Whoa, the babe! Let's go! Why don't we pause? Welcome in, everybody. Hey, great. Let's go. The power of the... I know. It stretches far and wide. Welcome in, everybody. Oh, you're playing Super Mario RPG. Let's go. How is that? Welcome in. That's a great username. What Cats Know? That's a great username. Valkyrie, Babe, Grim Reaper, Gimme Cat, another great name. Kays, welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. What Spyro are you playing? I'm playing... I had the game there. I'm currently playing the Legend of Spyro series. So I'm doing Legend of Spyro, A New Beginning. I should probably put that in the title, but it's a lot of words, and it probably... Twitch would probably go, oh, it's past your word count, and I'm like... But yeah. It's not a game I've seen been streamed, so I thought, screw it, we're gonna play it, and I love Spyro a lot. This one I've played, so I've played all three. I haven't beaten this one. I haven't beaten the first two. So there's A New Beginning, The Eternal Night, and then there's Dawn of the Dragon. So I finished the third one. I got to the final boss of this one, and then I think on the second one I got about halfway through, and then just decided not to play the game. There's definitely a reason why it's not being streamed. Yeah, it doesn't get the clicks, does it? Like other games, does it? It doesn't get the clicks. But how Super Mario RPG? I know you've been playing through that recently. How far have you got? I think last time you said you were quite far into the game. So are you getting close to the end? Oh, nice. You look. I know you said that you were loving the game so far. Is it getting better? Easier, harder? Maybe liking it not so much. I know it's a very beloved game, Super Mario RPG. Happy beef jerky, Day Welshie? Oh, wait, what? What incarnation have you just spouted out now, Ben? Come on. I've been alternating between Super Mario RPG and Link to the Past randomizers. Yeah. I think I've seen you. I think I was watching you. I think I was lurking. Yeah, you were playing Link to the Past the other day, and I was lurking. I hope that was fun too. I'm loving it. I'm definitely planning to replay in the future. Hell yeah. It's beef jerky day, so it says Jack Link's beef jerky. All right, well there we go. Much suffering for the Doritos. How is everybody? Hope everyone's doing well. It's good to see you all coming in with a raid. You sent me a screenshot? Okay. Okay. Oh. Oh, it's actually on Twitch. You just got an ad saying it's National Jerky Day. Huh. That's kind of wild. That's kind of wild. Okay, that's unfortunate. I'm gonna snooze those ads real quick. But yeah, there's 3 minutes of ads are on the horizon, but I will snooze them for a minute. But yeah, welcome in everybody. I am Welsh Bandicoot. I'm a retro variety streamer of sorts. We are playing Legend of Spyro series at the moment. I think we're about 2/3 the way through. I think. Don't quote me on it because I've not finished it. And I've not played this game in like 15 years, so I don't know. But yeah, I try and play all sorts of different games. Say Legend of Spyro, Crash. We've played Castlevania, we've played Zelda, we've played Donkey Kong Country. I do try and like to expand as much as I can. Like I've obviously played Zelda for the first time with Ocarina of Time, which was a lovely playthrough. But also I do like to mix in some more modern style games. And thank you for the follow, by the way. Sorry, before I forget. Thank you for the follow. They are anonymous, but if you want to declare it or just carry on lurking, that's really appreciated. Playing such retro classics as Legend of Spyro and Elden Ring. I mean, Elden Ring is a classic, you know? So retro. It's so 3 years ago. Yeah, that may be so that's potentially a thing this weekend. Me and my good friend in chat, Ben, we're gonna do a co-op playthrough of Elden Ring. I've not played Elden Ring all the way through, so I've only played like a few hours of it. So it should be fun. It should be fun. I think we're starting this weekend. Hopefully, if I get the motivation to stream. Ocarina of Time is a great game. I'm so glad you enjoyed your playthrough of it. Yeah, I loved it. It helped. Obviously, I had people in chat like Ben and others who were as passionate as I am with Crash Bandicoot with the games helping me. So that's always, and you know, plenty of people came in and were like, "Oh my god, I loved this game as a kid, and I still love it now." And I play randomizers. I had a speedrunner come in watching me play, and he was like, "Oh, you playing for the first time?" I'm like, "Yep." And he's like, "Yeah, speedrun them," and I'm like, "Damn." So I was like, "Hell yeah!" But no, I loved it. I'm definitely gonna play. I see either Link to the Past next, or maybe Majora's Mask. Those kind of they're the next 2 Zelda titles I'm thinking in my head. We've played through pretty much all the Crash Bandicoot games. I'm going through Assassin's Creed from 1 to current release. There's a few others that I'm missing off the top of my head. We've done Mass Effect series. We've done Devil May Cry. We've done Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the reboot game, which probably it's good. It's good. You get the best scream of all time. Oh, I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped to watch you play Link to the Past. Yeah, I know. I really want to play it just because I know I've watched Coco for so long doing speedruns. I'm like, I need to play this game just to say like, yes, I've played it. You know, like I love watching Coco speedruns of 100% speedruns of it, and I just kind of want to like in honor of Coco just be like, yeah, I've like bit the bullet and I'm playing it. You know, it's a really great game for a first playthrough. I hope so. Me too. It's a fun speedrun too. Nice. Yeah, as I say, the 100% speedruns is it's fun to watch. It's really fun to watch. I was suggesting to the past, wait on Majora's Mask for Ship Heart of Harnican to add that so you can get all the quality of life that comes with that port. Ah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. That is very true. Yeah. Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing. Oh, that reminds me actually. I got a sticker in the post yesterday. Give me 2 seconds. Put it somewhere. Where have I put it? Oh, it's up here. That's fine. Did I put that sticker? Literally on my desk. Am I blind? I think I'm blind. I think I'm genuinely blind. Ow. Yeah, I had a sticker come in the post from Stacy in Gotel. I know, even though I didn't hit the $100 mark, I think she still sent me one. So and I literally had it on my desk. That's gonna bug me now. I literally had it on my desk and I don't know where I've put it. I'm sh- I'm sh- I'm sure it'll reappear itself at some point. I miss when I used to be competitive against her in Hundo runs, but she's so good. Oh, you did runs as well, Case? Wow, that's awesome. Fair play. I mean, anybody who speeds run games, I have a massive appreciation for. So, even if you don't do them now and you did them before, like, respect. Should have got a spec save as well. I should have. I actually do, which is the unironic thing. I actually do. Oh, sorry, Jax. Hang on. Elden Ring sounds like the name of a medieval brothel. I mean, it kind of does actually. And Deaf and Dumbbell. Yes, yes. Insider jokes. Insider jokes. It was so exhausting I could feel the rust. Ah. I'd be like that if I played Crash. If I tried speedrunning Crash now, I'd probably be rusty. But yeah, well, of course, if I'm up for Elden Ring weekend, if you are, okay. You're all free all day Saturday, Sunday. Cool, sweet, awesome. Yep, my last time I set was like 3 years ago. Wow. Yeah, so if you hadn't done a bit of time in like 3 years or so, then yeah, you're probably going to be a little bit rusty, a little bit rusty. But yeah, for those coming in with a raid, if you need to raid and run, or just disappear, lurk, all that good stuff, take a break, stretch, all that post stream care stuff, please do. I'm still looking for that fucking sticker. I'm gonna find it. I will find it. And when I will celebrate like I just won the lottery. Oh, Friday, Saturday. Sorry, I didn't mean to say Sunday. My bad. The Go Till Speedrun race was my return after a long time. Oh, I bet. I bet it was nice to come back though. But yeah, I say we're gonna. What was it? Oh shit! It's 10:20. Fuck. But yeah, we are. I say we are. I'm all at sea here. But yeah, we've been playing through. Yeah, you know what, Ethereum? I genuinely wouldn't put it past me. I'm probably sitting on it or something, or it's like flashing in my face, and I'm like, what? Where is it? It's in the bathroom. Yeah, probably. Go away. Eh. I've had mosquito bites last couple of days, so That's why I'm like flicking away mosquito. I don't know if it was a mosquito or not, but yeah. Let me put the lights on because it's very dark. Snooze ads. But yeah, I'm gonna just carry on. I'm gonna carry on a little bit more with the game, but I do have to wrap up really soon, because I have work in the morning. So, I will do like I say because you rated in, I will do another like 20 minutes or so of gameplay, and then we will wrap up and either raid out or we'll just call it a night. We'll see. But yeah, go do your post stream stuff, babe. And yeah, I hope to. I'll try and. Oh, let me give another shout out as well. Go give her a follow. Lovely person. Yeah, yeah. I got like repellent and stuff, so but it's fine. I know I got to go to bed. Busy day tomorrow night. Oh, no worries, cinema. Have a good night. Have a good night. Take care of yourself. Have a good one. I will see you when I see you next. Hopefully in a more coherent state that I can string 2 sentences together. But we'll see. Alrighty, so we are currently in a volcano that's about to erupt. I know it's a bit of a dilemma, but that is what we're doing, and we're trying to rescue an Earth Guardian. So we've already rescued 3 or 2. Yeah, we've rescued Ice and Lightning Guardians, and now we're on to Earth, and I'm getting pushed into molten lava like it's nobody's business. Okay, right. But yeah, thank you for the raid again. Really appreciate it. Been on a support. Oh, you've doing some support hero grinding on Overwatch? Nice. Who have you been playing as? Like, I'm guessing like a mixture of everybody or just like specific ones. Oh, okay. That's fine. Magma worms. Don't go in the lava, please. Please. Rico and Brigitte. Nice. Is it Brigitte or is it Brigitte? Brigitte. I don't know. I think it's Brigitte, isn't it? I think that's how you pronounce it. You can get 2 sentences, whole sentences together? Shit, I can barely get 1. Hey, that's not a good day, man. This is not a good day. I joke. I've just been very tired of late, so. Well, it didn't help when the other night my disc plate fell at 3 o'clock in the morning, so that's always fun. When you're sleeping and all you hear is a massive bang, and you think you've just been fucking shot. But yeah. It's been, and I've been waking up really early. Like I'll go to bed at like 11, and then fall asleep like midnight, and then I'll wake up at like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. I'm like, ugh, I don't need this. I just want some solid sleep, please. Same, it's been consistently between 95 and 105 freedom units here. Oof, that is... It's been hot as hell and super exhausting, yeah. It's not so much hot here, it's just really humid. It's just really... The air is really still. Like, even when it rains, it just feels like it's muggy and, like, still. And that doesn't help. Obviously, that doesn't help either, trying to sleep. Oh, but you know, you just got to deal with it, haven't you? So, you just gotta power through. We can't change Mother Nature, so well, we can. That's kind of what global warming is, but you know. Same here with that heat. We saw. Oh, fucking ow! I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Can you stop hitting me, please? But here we've not had thunderstorms. I'd love a thunderstorm, but I don't think we're gonna get one anytime soon. I needed the health. Yeah, ads are gonna start. Oh god damn it! Actually, you know what I could do? Actually, I could run the ads. Let the ads run and just actually go find that sticker. Maybe with 3 minutes given, I could actually find it. Life hacks. And the sticker was never seen again. No, no. It's bad though. I feel bad because I wasn't. You know, it was done out of the goodness of Stacy's heart, and I'm like, and now I've just fucking lost it within the space of a day. This is why I don't have nice things. This is why I don't have nice things. Okay. Okay, got some health back. Oh god, that was a big boom. You have a nice commute now. You're gonna lose that tomorrow too? I mean, the PC might be an exception. But don't quote me on that. PC might be the exception to the rule. I don't know though. One can only dream. I've lost my bearings. Fine. Okay, ads are about to start. Wait a minute. Okay, let's level up Earth. How up? Okay, that's upgraded. Nice. Cool. Alrighty, yeah. Apologies everybody who's come in. Ads are about to start. It's gonna be about 3 minutes worth of ads. So I'm gonna just take a quick break and then be right back. Found me now. I'm assuming I just get out of here now, do I? Walk away, you know how. Don't stop caring about me now. Aren't you the guy? Somebody clip that. Oh. Let's go. Second try. How did I survive? This game. Best fucking game. More like Ebola, I'm guessing you're gonna say? Breath fountain. Oh, okay, never mind. Awkward. Nice. I do think the SNES has the better sound chip. Well, compared to the Genesis. Ah, the joys of a fruit bazooka. The joys of a fruit bazooka. If there's anything that far that I can just nail, I can nail. It's like having a cheat code. Yeah, this is an Arabic level, and I just died. Being too confident. Yeah, so no one needs to see that. I found it. This is the sticker I got from Stacy. I don't know if you can see it properly. I don't know. People have left, but this is what you're meant to get if you hit $100 raised. This is what you get. And I didn't get that, but because I guess yeah. I mean, out of the goodness of Stacy's heart, unless she had leftovers, maybe. I had an email saying, "Yeah, we're gonna send you one." I was like, "Oh, thank you." I was like, you don't have to, mind. Like, if I didn't hit the thing, I didn't hit the thing. I just gotta do better next time. But yeah, yours came yesterday too. Nice. Yeah, mine literally came in the post yesterday. I was like, oh, I was like, wait a minute, I know what this is, because it had the GoTel sticker on it, and I was like, okay, pretty cool, I will say. But welcome back from the ads, everybody.
Wait,
Very nice.
Wait, we're on your side.
I don't want to like put it on my PC yet because if I pull it off, it's like, oh no, that's game over.
Oh, Moliere sent us.
My brother is alive.
He sure is.
Yes, so these
but I gotta say,
moles are French,
I'm sorry.
and they're called Manor Smalls, or Manwere Smalls.
So, Moliere is alive. Oh, wonderful news.
Very interesting names for these characters. These
He
these
said he
things.
might be able to tell us where our friend Terrador is.
If he's a big dragon, I certainly can.
Okay, a big dragon.
Smalls are kept here.
That's it, Manwere Smalls. Manwere Smalls, probably. I don't know how you pronounce it.
And there are rumors that your dragon friend is being kept somewhere inside.
Oh.
Darkest pits of the volcano.
Which is probably going to erupt when we get there. Ugh,
Not if we
this
have anything to say about it.
What do
game doesn't make it easy for us, does it?
What do you mean?
I mean, we're going to free the Manwere Smalls, venture to the darkest pits of Boys It Big, and find Terrador.
Well,
Then
yeah, so this place is called
it's
Boys
off
It Big.
karaoke.
I kid you not. It's called Boys It Big.
All right, let's do it.
Like, can we just, like, Boys It Big. I can't stress enough how ludicrous that sounds. Boy, where are you going to today? Oh, I'm just going off for a holiday. Oh, where are you going to? Oh, Boys It Big? It's probably quite nice there. Manwere Smalls is best friend of Biggie Smalls. Yeah, I guess. It's just that when I first saw, I don't remember this. I don't think I got. No, I must have gotten this far. I don't remember as a kid. But when I saw the name of this place, I had to laugh. I had to laugh. Ooh, and then push you in the molten lava and sploosh. Nice. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, down you go. Ow. Oh, sorry guys. If I ever did get a good PC, it would only be for one specific reason. Cyberpunk and only Cyberpunk. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Gotta ring out the game, aren't you? You could go crazy with PC mods then, as well, to be fair. Am I meant to do that? Okay. I am. Big boom. Okay. Oh, hello? Oh. Nice. I think that's all of them? Nice. Oh, yeah.
Well, I see you two crazy kids found each other.
Yes, at last! Thanks to you.
We're just disappointed.
I love how they have a candle on their heads.
Maybe next time. So now, which way to Terrador?
That way, but be careful. The conductor and his maniacal locomotive will surely be close by.
When you say be careful, does that mean try not to die? I'm trying to do that anyway.
Come, Exhumer. We must get all the man with smells underground, where they belong.
Yes, it won't be long now.
Until volcano go. Why am I on here? Okay. We're just gonna spend our next upgrade stuff on Earth magic at this point. Thing is, though, I'd be completely lost on how to do everything. But then you could just plug in a controller. PC games you can plug an Xbox controller in, and it'd work just fine. It wouldn't be like you'd be playing on mouse and keyboard. I know that's not the only thing you mean, but yeah, I know, but. You mean like installing it and running it and stuff like that, or? I think it's worth. All else fails, just push them off the cliff. Bye-bye. Oh, that's a lot of explosions. A lot of explosions. Beep, 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 beep. Nice. Stuff. Yep, there's a smaller platform here. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. Not missing any gems in there. Oh god. A lot of pathways here. Yeah, there you go. Oops. Okay. Where to now? Over here. Oh. Okay. I want to double check what's down here. I don't miss any gems and stuff and such. Okay, yeah, there we go. So I came down here. Oh. How are we doing for... Okay, okay. Cookie. It would be nice if you could upgrade like your melee combo, but I guess not. Oh, also, I think we're 4 followers away from 600 now, which is very nice. Working our way up as we go. Gotta celebrate those milestones while we can. How much I can do here, is it? Oh, Jesus. Alright. Ow. Bad. Oh my god, why? Relive my life. Okay. Ice magic seems to work. Oh. Okay, let's pump some upgrade into that. Maybe I should use the ice more. Seems to be working wonders now. Maybe because I've upgraded it to full. A bit more powerful. Ooh. Okay. Oh. Have I got to? Oh, have I got to use my fury on it? Nice. Good stuff. I mean, that's one way to do it. Oh, Earth. Oh, like a shotgun blast. Huh. I could have just gone through this door anyway. That's annoying. Big boom. That was a big boom. Ow. Okay. Okay. Ugh. Probably should call it a night, actually. Yeah, God, it's 10 to 10 to 11. Yeah, I probably should. Oh, nice. Or should I... Save. Okie doke. We're going to end stream here. And we will be back next time with more Legend of Spyro. Ooh. Again, thank you for the everyone that's popped in. Thank you for the raids. Greatly appreciate. Thank you for the followers that came in too. Greatly appreciate. Like I said, we are. I want to double check just in case. Just to confirm, but I believe we're on. Oh no, I believe we're on 596 in terms of follow count. Yes, nice. So 4 more followers away, and then we hit the big 600. Well, I say big, but it's a big milestone. Then I won't talk about it ever again. Anyways, I'm just gonna head to bed. So I will see you all next time for more Legend of Spyro tomorrow, and see how we're doing after tomorrow's stream, and then it might be more Spyro on the Friday, or we will dive into some co-op Elden Ring. So I will keep you all posted in the Discords and socials and stuff and whatnot. I do have a YouTube channel as well where I post my VODs. So all these streams, games I'm playing, will be put on onto YouTube, so you can watch back at your heart's content. Elvin Fling, exactly. But yeah, I'm gonna head to bed, and I will see you all hopefully next time. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you when I see you. Good night.